It sure started to feel like Jay-Z and his lawyers thought they had this case in the bag. But Tony Busby is now fighting back, defending his Jane Doe, and things just got way messier. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and this case is only getting wilder. Tony Busby has fired back at Jay-Z and reiterated that the rapper will do anything to intimidate and harass him, including what he's alleging paying people to file frivolous lawsuits is what he's alleging that Jay-Z and his team are doing. Just a big charge. Look, I was starting to doubt and get worried about Tony Busby, not just because I don't know what's really happening, not because I defend Jay-Z or think he's fully perfect, but this interview with this accuser sure didn't sit well with me. I got to be honest. And some of these inconsistencies started to really mess with me. But now Tony Busby has responded. I want to go through his response. I want to go through the inconsistencies again, and I want to go through how Jay-Z has responded. I think it's all very important. But here is the latest, filed today from the Busby Law Firm. This is Tony responding about this immediate requirement to get sanctions and throw out the case, which I've asked our attorney advisor, John Witherspoon, who he just thinks that's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be this idea that the 21-day period should be reduced to 1 is ridiculous. Grasping at straws was his words. And again, reeks of a little bit of a desperation move on Jay-Z's team to try to just Jedi mind trick this thing to go away, which it's not. So Busby's filing back. He says this is ridiculous, basically. This intent to file a motion to strike for sanctions immediately is just groundless. Defendant Carter threatens plaintiff with a Rule 11 motion based on questions raised by one single television interview concerning events occurring 24 years ago when plaintiff was 13 years old. Defendant Carter also asked this court to alter the federal rules of civil procedure in his favor by abrogating the mandatory 21-day Rule 11 safe harbor period without any legal support or factual justification whatsoever. The former is frivolous and the latter is impermissible. Just to reiterate, Jay-Z's team is out there saying, oh, well, this interview proves everything. It's all false, so we should just throw it away. All rights go away. It's over, Judge. Everybody, it's just nothing. It's nothing. This didn't happen. To quote him directly, I think I have the soundbite here.
That's because this never happened.
He's trying to reiterate and just ground it in everybody's head, but the reality is that's not how these cases work, and Busby's right. You don't get to just throw this away right now. No, and it's good to see Tony stepping up, lawyering well, and fighting back. This is pretty frivolous and deflectory and distracting of Jay-Z's team to try to get the media to just assume, no, it's all nonsense. Defendant Carter's threat of Rule 11 motion is frivolous because it characterizes run-off-the-mill disputes of fact as proof. That plaintiff's complaint is baseless. None of the factual issues Carter identifies are sufficient even to grant summary judgment in Carter's favor, much less support Rule 11 sanctions. The fact that the defendant or potential witness does not agree with or recollect the facts alleged in the complaint does not and cannot give rise to a motion for sanctions for filing a baseless complaint. Defendant Carter's threat of an immediate sanctions motion on the first whisper of factual uncertainty is just one more instance of bullying intended to have a chilling effect on plaintiff's counsels, and any potential plaintiffs watching these proceedings. Factual. Not only is Jay-Z trying to shut this all down for himself, but it does look like he's trying to actually help Diddy as well. While they're trying to say, oh, they're not friends, this is only going to help all the other countless accusations and lawsuits that are pending against Diddy from Busby. Because even I've sort of said, look, Busby's credibility looks shot now, the fact that he didn't vet this person and his witness. But we'll come back to that. Rule 11 motion is frivolous on the additional ground that expressing a victim of SA over 2 decades, when that victim was 13, and as her interview revealed, also autistic, to have perfect recall of all facts is outrageous. Defendant Carter twists plaintiff's words when he accuses her, for instance, of guessing at the timing of events alleged in the complaint, such as the length of car rides. But New York courts have expressly acknowledged that plaintiffs in this type of case cannot be expected to have exacting recall and command of all relevant facts. And then he lists Pilisla versus Roman Catholic Archdiocese. We recognize that in matters of SA involving that age, recounted by survivors years after, the facts, dates, and times are sometimes approximate and incapable of calendrical exactitude, not exact days and moments, and approving allegations spanning a 4-year window of time in which it could have occurred. So again, as long as it happened within that a 4-year period of when she said, well, then it's still relevant. It can still hold up, which is really good to hear. And again, now makes me recheck some of the opinions I've had, which makes me go, okay, good to see Busby now finally stepping up. A week now is a little late, but I guess never too late. There's no basis for a Rule 11 motion here, and has filed such a motion would itself be subject to a Rule 11 motion in response. Of course, we cannot prevent Defendant Carter from wasting the resources of this court and all parties in pursuing one. However, Defendant Carter's request that the court shorten the filing deadline for his threatened Rule 11 motion from 21 days to 1 day is entirely improper. Carter fails to cite any precedent whatsoever to support this astonishing request because there is none. Carter also fails to cite any reason why the federal rules of civil procedure should be abrogated in his favor to this particular case. Again, there is none. 21 days safe harbor under Rule 11 exists to provide parties and counsel time to assess the objections being made and to withdraw or modify a pleading or other paper if necessary. It goes on to talk more about how important this safe harbor is, which it is. It cannot be shortened here because Mr. Carter and his counsel request as much. Whether in an attempt to play gotcha or to exert additional pressure on plaintiff or for any other reason. From the outset, Defendant Carter and his counsel have shrilly maintained an entitlement to different rules and faster procedures. It sure does feel like they've been doing that. From an expedited briefing on the issue of anonymity and a summary dismissal of plaintiff's complaint to now a wholesale elimination of the 21-day safe harbor under Rule 11. In each instance, the goal has been to blur the facts and rush a decision. But there is aggressive advocacy and then there is bad faith. Mr. Carter's latest tactics, much like his open threat to refer plaintiff's attorneys for disciplinary action, cross that line. Moreover, outside the courtroom, Mr. Carter has employed tactics of intimidation and harassment, even more extreme, torturous, and quite possibly illegal. My firm recently filed a lawsuit that details how Mr. Carter's company, Rock Nation, and his counsel have bribed my clients to file lawsuits against my firm, threatened former clients, impersonated state officials, and engaged in other behavior far beyond the pale of acceptable conduct. Their tactics won't work, and they will be addressed in more detail in connection with the parties' briefing in plaintiff's anonymity. Like Mr. Combs, Mr. Carter is rich, famous, and powerful. Mr. Carter will exert all the pressure he can to intimidate and harass plaintiff, me, or anyone else. The chilling effect of those efforts is substantial, as is a potential chilling effect on Rule 11 motion being brought in these circumstances. But ultimately, in our court system, the rules are the same for Mr. Carter and for the plaintiff here, and the Rule 11 safe harbor cannot be changed on a whim. Finally, Defendant Carter raises the status of my admission on the Southern District of New York. As with previous letters to the court, a substantial amount of defamatory suggestions about me, including that I am somehow attempting to circumvent the authority of this court to enforce Rule 11 against me. That is nonsense. I am a member of the state bar and admitted in Eastern New York, blah, blah, blah. I intend to apply for reciprocal admission to the Southern District. The fact that I have signed pleadings and letters filed in this court does not reflect any attempt by me to evade responsibility for anything. To the contrary, I have signed those pleadings and papers because I am lead counsel in this and other similar cases pending in this district. Sincerely, Tony Busby. Look, I got to say, this is the Busby I wanted to hear from. And a lot of you told me, Andy, be patient. And this is good. Now, look, there's still a question of, well, how did they just forget all these details? And more importantly, this witness. Here's the big sort of gotcha that most people are jumping on.
Says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me.
Now, here's what's important, and I will take an L for not really fully vetting this as properly as I should. NBC News, I don't trust you. I don't trust this reporter. She got an exclusive later, which I expressed. But the truth of the matter is that the full quote? Literally, NBC News wrote an article about me where they said a bunch of false nonsense about me, accusations just to spite me because I'd put one of their reporters on blast. And so she used NBC News to write a hit piece on me. And then she asked me for quotes and questions, all ridiculous stuff. And I gave them a quote. And did she use my full quote? Of course not. Of course she didn't. And so the reality is this the full quote of what she said? We don't know. Who is this man they spoke to? I don't know. And for a moment, let's assume, okay, it is the father, and now the father's not, condoning his daughter's story. What kind of father is this? Like, he just assumes she's lying and now is admitting to NBC News that it's all nonsense? I mean, I as a father, that would be a hard thing for me to do, to go suddenly kill my kid's case. It would take probably a lot of money for some people to maybe change their story, which I got to give credit to Natalia, the dopest nerd, for pointing that out. And she's right. When I think about this again, like, well, why is this father just throwing his kid under the bus? This is the one part where I'm like, well, wait a second. This isn't good. There's no witness. There's nothing. The other witness conveniently isn't here anymore. Look, I wasn't there. I don't know what's happening, but I refuse to give his seemingly better, expensive lawyer benefit of the doubt that I'm not giving Busby. They both deserve the same benefit of the doubt. I do believe they're both doing shenanigans, to be fair. I don't trust any lawyer because they're allowed to lie. But at the end of the day, to see the kind of stuff that Rock Nation's putting out, it does reek of desperation. It does seem like they're grasping at straws. It does seem like there's an entitlement here that they deserve better and that this should be thrown out. And the way that Spyro is out there sort of conversing with the press, he got almost, in my opinion, too aggressive. He got too confident. He tried to say Diddy and Jay-Z aren't friends. I mean, come on. How can we believe anything this guy says now after that abomination of a lie? It's absurd. So at the end of the day, I still have questions, but I'm glad to see Busby is firing back, standing up for his Jane Doe, and firing back. You don't get special treatment, Jay-Z. You don't get it, Mr. Carter. I don't care how much you want to come at me, how much you want to threaten me, intimidate me, and bully me with all this stuff. Fine, we'll look this all out, and we're going to look at all. We're going to look at Busby's accusations, all of it. It'll all come out. As Busby always says, sunlight is the best disinfectant. But we are not the source of every sunlight you got, but the rock sunshine's coming your way, Mr. 1-800. This sure feels like a threat. This doesn't sound good. I'm sorry. I don't care how upset you are, Jay-Z. This is not a good look. And I'm shocked Spyro is letting this kind of stuff get out there. Deleted, then posted, deleted, then reposted. It's like they can't make their mind. This isn't a good look. I don't like this. This looks desperate, and it does feel like they're starting to grasp at straws, throwing everything in the kitchen sink from a bunch of people who've never come up before. But now suddenly when Jay-Z's under fire, everybody's coming out of the woodwork to suddenly justify it. If there's somebody who has enough money to start causing this doubt, I got to be honest, it's Jay-Z and Spyro's law firm. That's what they do. They make the impossible happen for the rich and powerful. So yeah, I'm going to take back some of my confidence in you, Spyro. I don't know what to tell you, man. Come on the show. Let's have a conversation. Let's address this like adults. If you got nothing to hide, come on the show. We've reached out to him and he has yet to respond. I want to hear what you guys think though in the comments down below. We're also live right now for a little bit over on Uncensored. Join us there. Hit the button, hit the bell. It's going to be a quicker show, but we'll be there live. Make sure you tune in. We will see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for watching. We got a lot more coming your way here on Popcorn Planet.